各位现场的贵宾，欢迎大家回到我们研讨会的现场。我们接下来即将进行第2场的专题演讲，演讲的题目是后疫情时代科技在经济重建所扮演的关键角色。我们邀请到的是来自日本的横泽诚博士。横泽诚博士呢是经济合作暨发展组织 OECD 经济产业咨询委员会数位经济联席主席。那由于我们接下来的演讲将会以英文来进行，所以我们也是用现场连线的方式。那我们请我们现场的与会的贵宾看我们前方的投影荧幕。那接下来让我们以热烈的掌声来欢迎我们的横泽诚博士。Let's welcome our Dr. YOKOZAWA. YOKOZAWA さん、どうぞ。
Thank you. Yes, do you hear me? Good? Okay. So thank you for the organizers and the government in Taiwan for inviting me. That's a very precious opportunity to speak about the pandemic situation and economic recovery. I expect so many friends in Taiwan. Actually, I have many friends in Taiwan, including the Taiwan CSI, the Louisa and the Nadia. They helped me a lot. And I always love Taipei city, a very beautiful city. And unfortunately, I can't be there. So, so this is some substitution, and I hope you can hear clearly and understand what my speech will help you to understand what is the pandemic situation, not only between Taiwan and Japan, and also the many things. And with my previous speaker, Dr. Chi has nicely mentioned that the K-shape, L-shape, that is very nice demographics and of the how we can recover from this very difficult time. So having said that, my speech is about the technology, the role in rebuilding the economies after COVID-19 pandemic. So I will be highlighting words that is in the new normal that's here. So the COVID-19 has played a very severe impact on everything in our life and our economy. And even the geopolitical situation changing very, very differently. So we are, in the past, before the pandemic situation, we have this a slow curve here. But after the pandemic, nobody knows where we are going. So this is very symbolic pattern of what we are facing about. Okay, so I am skipping this, but this is what I am doing in the WTO, for example, and TPP negotiation, ITU, and the Internet Governance Forum, and TISA and TTIP, where the Taiwan CSI and I were together working on, and maybe something a little bit about the ISO, so many things. So many things are surrounding us, Taiwan and Japan. So the OECD is a very interesting place for me, and even for Taiwan to think about your experience and your knowledge will be utilized very well. And I think that Taiwan is qualified, very much qualified to be a part of the OECD, not by the official members, but the private sectors and some of the experts like who are giving some speech today. They are qualified to be invited in the OECD discussion. So we will appreciate your participation. So I will speak about the pandemic that will be followed by the society, and then the new normal in my speech. So first, the pandemic. Our previous speaker, Dr. Tang has nicely mentioned about the L shape and K shape. And this is, I think, the reverse L shape. And this part, the right-hand side of this slide. So this is how the Zoom or WebEx now I am using, or the Google Classrooms, and Microsoft Teams, those remote conferencing systems or remote work systems are just doing very well in terms of the connection and the business. So this is quite after the February 20th. That is the first death rate in the United States. So after that, all of these digital tools are very much used by the society and the business and even in the life. So this is very important things. And I would say this pandemic, COVID-19, is a digital pandemic, 2020. So we had a similar digital pandemic, or that is the SARS, SARS situation many years ago. That is very similar to this pandemic, but this pandemic is even more difficult. Why? Both SARS, SARS, and the COVID-19 has a similar structure. That is the spread of the COVID-19. There is partially caused by the localization and restriction of the data flow. Many of you have heard of at the first stage, earlier stage of the diffusion of the COVID-19. There was a restriction in the sharing of the data and information in mainland China. And a doctor wanted to spread his experience and warning to widely in China, but he couldn't do that because of some restriction of the information sharing over the SNS or many things. So instead, he decided to use the US-based SNS, which is Twitter. Then many people came to know what is happening in the early stage of the COVID-19 pandemic. So this is partly the digital tool played a significant role in spreading in why this pandemic has happened very early in this year. So the second one is this is the dual connection, dual direction, the dual direction effect, because in the pandemic situation is amplifying the digital protectionism. Why? Because partially this is yes, we have the reason to do that, because we can't communicate, we can't travel to Taiwan. I can't. I would love to travel to Taipei this time, but I can't. So most of the countries or even the cities are locked down. So the city lockdown and the country lockdown. So this is a good reason to they want to have the protectionism. So the situation as the travel and the trade are not all the same as what we are doing last year. So that the economic stagnation and there is an obstacle to the cross-border business and the increased regulation and the changes in the business styles and the stifling and the innovation. So many sad things and not good things was the bad things are happening. So this is a digital pandemic. Okay. So I will move on to what is the number of the GDP impact that was nicely shown by my previous speakers. So just mentioning that this is the OECD statistics. the average OECD downturn of the GDP is about the minus 10% in this year. Japan and Korea, the Asian countries in OECD, are doing relatively good. Especially specifically, the Korea is only expected to have a minus 3%, less than minus 3% down of the GDP. In Japan, it's expected to less than 10%. But it's not bad, but it's a big impact in our society and economy. So, and the big question is, how long will it stay? Okay, so we can learn from the past downturn, the past recessions after the Second World War. So these lines I am showing on the right-hand side, this is the GDP loss after each recession, which took place after the World War II. So the biggest one should be the oil shock. Okay, that was in 1972, and even more from the Lehman shock we call. So this is 2008. So those recession had the duration more than maybe 7 quarters. That means nearly 2 years. So what about this pandemic, this recession? So the McKinsey had a various scenario in expecting how long this recession will continue. So the most optimistic scenario, A3, that gives us at least 1 year of the downturn more than from at this moment. Okay, so the hardest scenario, that B2, is we can't predict how long it will take. It's at least more than the 4 years or 5 years. So and maybe the most likely we have A1 scenario or A2 scenario, which will recover from the 2 years, after 2 years or 3 years. That is the most probable scenario. And what is the new normal? So we have to think about the new normal. Since this is a very long time we will take to recover from the recession. So the new normal means this word comes from the norm. So we have to think about the new norm, and the new behavior, a new daily life, and a new business, which are all brought from this pandemic status. So what is this? I will refer to this later, but we have to think about this. Everything is changing. So what is the responsibility of the business, namely the ICT sectors? That is something we have to take care more. The ICT sectors and digital technology is supporting society with stable IT platforms, and leading the economic recovery and strengthening the international cooperation like this. Okay, so let's go into a little bit more about the digital pandemic and businesses. So the digital divide is spreading. So far as now, before the pandemic, we were trying to bridge the divide, the digital divide. I know that Taiwan has a very good project, the Digital Opportunity Center in APEC. So I have some friends there, and you are trying to bridge the digital divide with that who has the digital technology and who does not, who do not have the digital technology in this situation. So, but the pandemic situation is just splitting more, dividing more in this situation. It also applies to the business itself. So here in this chart, the right-hand side, we have a negative impact sectors like the tourism, aviation, maritime, and automobiles, oils and gas, and contribution, construction and the real estates, manufacturing. These sectors will have a negative impact by the COVID-19. On the contrary, on the right hand, we have a very positive impact sectors like the ICT, e-commerce, and agriculture, and the personal and healthcare, food processing. And those basic supporting, life-supporting industries, they will survive or even have more opportunities in business. Okay, so, well, I have said that the digital technology will have a very important role in the recovery phase. So, so this is a data-free flow with trust. So digital technology, without any exception, rely on the data, and how we can utilize the data freely, open and free. That is the question for us in this situation. So in 2019, that's before the pandemic, even the former Prime Minister Abe in Japan, he proposed in the Davos conference and the Osaka track, that's the G20 meeting, and he emphasized that the data-free flow with trust is very, very important for the global economy. And the situation is now even more because I explained that we have the difficulty in the data exchange and especially in the cross-border situation. So we need the FFT more than ever. For example, the Taiwan and Japan has to exchange data, knowledge, information, and the algorithm in the AI, for example. So this is critical for us, not only between the Taiwan and Japan, but we need to communicate more in the global communication and global meetings and global opportunities because we can travel in person right now. Okay, so I said about what is the difference between the DFFT before the pandemic, COVID-19, and the post-COVID-19 DFFT, a little bit different, but the goal remains the same, that we'll fight against the fragmentation of the global economy. And we can use the four tools, four powerful tools that we can use. We can raise the norm, and we can think about the strong role, and we can think about the market mechanism to govern. We have to think about the governance and the architecture, or by design, or some technology things, technology-related things. So these four tools, the elemental tools, thought about how we can govern the data. So that is very critical for us. And the secure first or free first, this is a question we had before the pandemic. So I would emphasize that the free first right now. And these things, including some designing the trust, is very, very important right now, even more important right now. Okay, so I will move on to the society. So the society has to be changed after this pandemic. So, but just forget about the pandemic or COVID-19 for a second. So this is the Society 5.0. There is a proposal from Japanese government and also the private sector, which is the KEIDANREN. I am working with this association, that's the Japan Business Federation, and who has a very good advisory to the policy making process in Japan, but also also to the OECD and the UN and WTO, many international fora. So, so this is the slides we made in 2019, before the pandemic. So you may have heard about the fourth industry revolution, the industry 4.0, that's here, and historically we had many revolutions in the industry and society. So industry and society are the two sides of the coin. So if we improve the industry to the next stage, the society has to be changed to the next stage as well. So after the fourth industry revolution, the natural thinking is we will have the society 5.0, okay, the fifth version of the society, a new society. And unfortunately or fortunately, the COVID-19 is accelerating this transition from the society 4.0 to society 5.0. Okay, so we have to utilize the many of the advanced technologies like IoT, artificial intelligence, and robotics, and the distributed ledger technology. This is well known by the blockchains or the Bitcoin is a very good example to think about the DLT, distributed ledger technology. And what is the difference between the society 4 and society 5? Well, we need more inclusion of the people, not only the business or not only the government. In other words, multi-stakeholder, the structure will be very much deepened. We have to expect the participation from the consumers or the people on the streets. So many people. So they are equally responsible for building the society 5.0 with the business sector and the government. Okay, so and this is highly related to the SDGs and the United Nations. So society 5.0, I will show these 9 sector-based projects in Japan, but all of these projects are highly related to the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. The first example is cities and regions. I know the projects in Taiwan about the smart cities. I am somewhat involved in the discussion of the Taiwan's smart city project. That's very nice. And you have a very good experience and the good studies on how the technology can support the city life and the city business, regional business. So that data will be shared and facilitate smarter solutions in smart cities and smart life, smart communities, whatever. So the decentralized communities, this is very important because so far as now, you may have heard of the GAFA, that is Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon. These big giants, their business and their mechanism is highly dependent on the centralized cloud services. Okay, so there will be some antithese, some other thoughts about how we can utilize a digital technology. There is a decentralized structure. So the communities can be decentralized. So in Japan, most of the business and population is concentrated in the Tokyo and Tokyo suburban area. So, but from now, we are thinking about the decentralizing the governance and the business to the all part of the all areas in Japan. So, and such developments will enable diverse lifestyles and creating the society more than ever. Okay, so it's highly related to the sustainable development goals that is shown in the lower part of this slide. Okay, so such and such, I will not cover all of the things, but because of the time constraints, but the energy, we can think more about how we can utilize with the use of the digital technology. What is the energy technology will look like in the post-COVID situation? That's very important. And the disaster prevention and mitigation. So Taiwan and Japan is a common target of the typhoon. And in this year, we had a very big typhoon in Taiwan and in Japan also. So an earthquake, that's a common problem for Taiwan and Japan. So how we can tackle with these problems, the issues, the digital technology will help very much here. And the healthcare, so the aging society that was also mentioned by my previous speaker. So the healthcare is something we have to take care more, even in the post-COVID situation. And agriculture and food, and yes, the food value chain, and how we can secure this value chain or supply chain regarding the food. We can even utilize these drones in delivery or logistics, but how we can assure the safety of the food, that is a question for us. And the logistics, we can optimize globally. So far as now, even in Japan, we were only thinking about the local optimization. I mean, it is within a company or even in the factory or in some the operations. So there's very limited scale of the optimization was taken care of. But from now, we will have to think about the global optimization that will cover from the materials and to the manufacturing and logistic, and then the disposal. So disposal is very, very important. So the global optimization and more efficiency will be necessary to think about the post-COVID-19. And in manufacturing and the services, the cyber-physical, which is mentioned also by my previous speaker. So that is very important. And we can even utilize the 3D printings technology and the more about that. So we can think about this. I will mention a little bit more on these things afterwards. And finance. And okay, so these are very important sectors and projects we have to think. And this is a society 5.0, but the acceleration by the COVID-19 we will face very, very shortly. Okay, the next one is a new normal. So the society 5.0, this was a message before the pandemic situation in 2019. So as a new normal, as I said, this is something we have to take care. So as the first one, I will mention the 10th good example to think about what is a new normal in the next stage. So the first one is digital society and the new normal. So this photo, the people trying to move this big rock And we can't do that because before the pandemic, there was under the critical mass. So we couldn't move beyond the critical point, which is this rock can move and go down the hill. So now we are in the very good point, good time to go over this critical point. And if we push a little bit more the digital things, the digitalization will automatically be initiated. So this is a model of the critical mass. And the COVID-19 situation has brought us to beyond this critical point. So we can expect many, many things, like I just mentioned in this table. And so before the pandemic, we can't expect the full-scale digitalization scale because the aged people, older people, elderly people, they won't use digital devices like the smartphones, iPhones, or Android. So, but now they are they're forced to use these digital tools for the buying the ticket for the transportation and paying the small money to the shops. So the big change will be coming to happen. Okay, and as I am doing this speech remotely, so many things are happening around this remote participation, remote conferencing. So this is a very famous story in the Scotland Parliament. So this gentleman is a member of the Scotland Parliament, and while he is joining the Parliament meeting by Zoom, his cat is intruded like this. So, he says, I apologize for my cat's tail. So this kind of the things will happen. So we have to change our mind to be tolerant, to forgive these sort of the things. So, so we need to be changed. So and the technology can be changed, has to be changed. So the new context digital is not only the technology, but how we can, approve or how we can react to the change brought by these digital technologies. And so, yes, I am mindful of time. So I am skipping some of the things. And as I mentioned, the 3D printings, this technology can do more in, for example, the local production and local consumption and the do it yourself. This is a new culture, new normal, in what is happening right now. And number 4, the internet will be changed because the internet structure, internet technology is very, very old. We have been using the IP, Internet Protocol, for more than 60 years, very old one. In 1960s, we have designed the Internet Protocol. So now should be a very good timing for us to think about the new infrastructure, that's a new IP system. But the new IP was proposed by China, mainland China, and to the ITU, International Telecommunication Union, in this year. But we have to think about what is the real thing we want after this current internet structure. Okay, so the digital distance new normal and the minimalism. OPEX is operation expenditure rather than the capital expenditure. So, so we have to, we are forced to move from the capital expenditure to the operation expenditure, and the minimalism. So, because of the difficulty in the logistics, for example, the masks and the alcohol this is disinfectant. So even in Taiwan, I heard that the physical the sanitary mask you have faced to the shortage of the masks in Taipei city. And yes, so that means that we can think about the minimalism lifestyle after the COVID-19. Okay. And the green normal, we will have to think about the ecology or the global warming, global climate change as well. It won't be changed. So this is the Indian Gate in New Delhi. So now they are enjoying the clear sky, clear blue sky like this. But we won't be going back to the old days, the smog and the air pollution days in the last year. So how we can do that? This is the question. And the new business will be related to how we can do this, not going back to the old normal. Okay. And the new digital culture like this. So we have to think about. And the digital immunity for the new normal is the new cybersecurity threats are coming up. That is the evidence. So we have the evidence, but what is a real thing we have to think about is it's not only the business, or it's not only the government who are totally responsible for the cybersecurity incident. So the users and the smartphone users and the business software users, the users of the internet are equally responsible for what they are facing in terms of the cybersecurity. So this is some change, the new normal in post-COVID-19. So this is called, it's a herd immunity. It's a group immunity or societal immunity for the COVID-19. We can also think about the group immunity or a society immunity even for the cybersecurity issues. Okay. So the last one, number 10, is the role of the government will be changed in the post-COVID-19. So yes, and the geopolitical situation will be dramatically changed, but in short, the roles of the government will be a little bit different from what we have expected before the COVID-19. So some role of the government will be strengthened, and some role will be we will have to expect more participation from the stakeholders other than the government, like the business or the civil society. Okay, so I have spoken about the new normal. So how we can do that? What we can fight against the convergence and the divergence? That is the question. So as I said, for example, the cross-border e-commerce, they are expected to be much more bigger in this situation. For example, Japan, from US to Japan, the importer is Japan and the exporter is US. The average the sales will be grown up by the factor of the 20%. Okay, and these U.S., Japan, and China situation, all of the e-commerce, cross-border e-commerce are growing. So we are expecting the e-commerce in the next stage will stimulate the global economy as they were done. And so, but I think Taiwan is doing very good. But look at the Vietnam and the Indonesia and even the Laos in the Southeast Asia. So they need to be helped by the global cooperation So the UNCTAD, that's the United Nations agency, they are promoting the e-trade for all and the helping the small and medium-sized economy enterprises to go in more into the e-trade or e-commerce, and namely the cross-border things. So we can, Taiwan and Japan can help this project by in low-hanging fruits of the collaboration. Okay, but we have difficulties as well. There's a crisis of the internet. That's the fragmentation of the internet. We have to fight against the accelerating tripolarization. I say that the tripolarization is of course, that the US, EU, and China. Yes, and US and China, yes, everybody knows what is happening between these two big super states. But sometimes we forget about what is happening between the US and EU. So somebody may have heard about the Schrems II cases. That is the data flow between these two super states. They are now shut down by the decision made by the European Justice Court earlier in September. So they have some fragmentation even between the US and the EU. They are seeking a very, very different framework in using the data or protecting the data or just utilizing the data. So this is a very important thing to think about how the global economy can cooperate. So I will touch upon this later. And I am very much interested in how the EU and the China, the relationship will grow from now. So the 5G technology, as mentioned by earlier before my speech, that is very important. And most importantly, the Trump administration is thinking about the implementing the clean network, which is only the like-minded countries, like-minded businesses can participate in the network itself. So I think the Chunfa Telecom in Taiwan is a member of this clean network circle, and all the Japanese telecom operators as well. And so we are in the same boat here. So the question is how we can call for more participation in the global scale for the clean network. Okay. And the fragmentation can be observed in many situations. This is a personal data protection. So as I have shown in these slides, so many different frameworks in protecting the personal data or privacy is now even we see even more fragmentation here. And this is the Schrems II case. EU Court of Justice has decided that all the illegal or most of the data flow between the US and EU regarding the personal data can be maybe shut down because the US companies are not following the EU regulation very well. So these things can be happen to the data flow between Japan and EU or Taiwan and EU. So this is something we have to take care more. And there is a very nice project in APEC that is called the CBPR, which is cross-border privacy rules. This is a certification mechanism by the government. And we are expecting this framework to interoperable to the GDPR of the EU. So, and the economies, we can say economy here, country here, but the economies in APEC, including the Taiwan and Japan, United States, we are all the member of the CBPR circle, cross-border privacy rules circle. I think that the Ministry of Economy in Taiwan is doing very good here. And in Japan, we have 3 companies who have the CBPR certification, which may cover the business in Taiwan from Japan. So we can share the private personal data among these countries in the future. So I am a very good supporter of the CBPR system, and I expect Taiwan as well. Okay. So yes, because of the time is running out, so I will go quickly to the conclusion. But before that, I think that the very good word in thinking about the post-COVID situation is the smart. Okay, so everything has to be smart by the digital technology. So, for example, the smart cities in Taipei or Iran area, I am very familiar with. Iran is a very lovely city. I've been traveled so often. And the digital transformation of the society, which is mentioned my speech, my slides about the society 5.0, the digital transformation will be everywhere. And we need to be smart. Smart is autonomous. Smart is decentralized against the old framework brought by the US giants like GAFA, GAFA. And smart is shareable. The sharing economy is a very good word for thinking about the what is coming after the smart. And smart is on demand, self-regulated. This is very important. So European Union is a little bit far from the self-regulation concept. And the mainland China is much more apart from the self-regulation. All of the regulation is covered by the government. But Japan and Japan and US, and I expect that Taiwan is a little bit different. We are emphasizing the role of the self-regulation very much. So this is something we have to consider. And smart is ecosystem, and smart is diverse and resilient and trustable and cool and humane. So this smart is the keyword for the next stage. So this is my last slide. And yes, as I mentioned, Japan and Taiwan is a very good partner, and we are in the same boat. And we are surrounded by these 3 super state or the geopolitically. So the China is the most tough and toughest and very difficult one. But the US is also a little bit difficult because of the centralized system, the cloud services, we have to depend on even the Japan or a Taiwan business. The service sector has to depend on the US-based services like the GAFA, GAFA, and how we can tackle with those issues brought by the occupation of the monopoly issues. That is something we have to together think about. And the EU is a little bit difficult, again, because of the general data protection rule regulation, which was brought by the EU government in the personal data protection. So we hope, as a Japanese, I hope everything can be harmonized. If we can decrease the conflicts between US and China, and we can have a good coordination between US and Europe. And even for the EU and China, the situation could be better. That is something I have. I will be very happy. We will be very happy. So that's my speech, and that's my thought I wanted to share. So thank you very much for your attention, and I am very happy to receive any questions and comments on this. So thank you very much again. Yeah.
谢谢我们横泽诚博士的专题演讲。不知道现场有没有与会的贵宾有意见提出交流呢？如果没有的话，那我们接下来就进行我们的午餐的部分。那我们也再一次掌声，谢谢我们的横泽诚博士。Thank you very much。那我们的午餐进行到下午1点钟，欢迎各位现场与会的贵宾在1点钟的时候再度回到我们的现场，进行下午的各个场次。谢谢。